Mr. Secretary, you said the 99% down on border crossing. At the same time, we're going to take $1 billion out of the MILCON budget, out of building barracks, to send it for the border. Another 4,000 troops.
Well, sir, we are securing it.
About this, is it the policy of the Department of Defense that we need to be prepared to take Greenland and Panama by force if necessary? Is this a policy that you have within the Department of Defense in accordance with the President's wishes?
I heard what you said about those two countries and saying we need to worry about China. Well,
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just on the budget point, I made this point before the committee before. The House just passed a budget that adds nearly $3 trillion to an already out-of-control debt. So if we do really want to spend money on defense or anywhere else, we ought to be willing to pay for it. And I just, certainly go back through generations of, bipartisan problems with this. You can't have a debt that size and keep coming back talking about how much money you're going to spend, whether it's defense or whatever your priorities are. And, Mr. Secretary, you said the 99% down on border crossings and the border is secure. At the same time, we're going to take $1 billion out of the MILCON budget, out of building barracks, to send it for the border, and there's another 4,000 troops that we're planning on sending down to the border. Given that the border is secure, might you rethink that spending?
Well, sir, we are securing it. It is secure, but it's a manpower-intensive effort at the beginning.
Two different words there. It's either secure or secure, and it sounded to me like you said it was secure.
It is secure.
Okay.
What we're continuing to do is expand that and fortify it through infrastructure, which is a big part of the budget on the Department of Homeland Security side as well. So it's that $1 billion you're talking about was from the CR in FY25. We fully fund that back and more in FY26 with a recognition that we were dealing with the world as it existed when we came in. And the previous administration said they needed new legislation to secure the border. It turns out you just needed a new president.
I would point out
president
that
with
you
the
have not
Defense Department and
submitted,
DHS that was willing to go to the border and actually secure it, which is what
not submitted a budget yet. So whether or not you're putting that money back in remains to be seen. You have definitely taken it out. And I think the obsession there, and I don't disagree, the border needed to be secure. But from a pure budget standpoint, let's just not keep the political focus on that. Let's make sure that we're funding some of the other priorities that we have. So when it comes back to acquisition reform, and the chairman's point, it's our committee, certainly Congress is part of the problem. We set up a lot of requirements. Defense contractors are part of the problem. I'm curious, how would you get after reforming the culture at the Pentagon so that you can move faster, number one, and number two, how would you get after the defense contractors that push the requirements process? And specifically, what would you do about the requirements process to try to speed things up?
Well, first of all, I think gold plating is a real problem, sir. I mean, across the department.
Interesting to use the word gold in this particular context, but yes, I agree with you, actually.
We maybe could use a little bit more silver plating on occasion. A recognition that the 99% solution is oftentimes the enemy of the 85% solution that delivers 2 years sooner. And that's contractors and other companies wanting to do right, but trying to do too much and overpromise, and then they're under-delivering, and the warfighter
not always wanting to do right. In some cases, just wanting to make money, so, but yes.
The change is also in acquisitions about people. You need reformers in these positions. I'm here to be a disruptor of those processes. Our deputy secretary has extensive business experience. The types of people we're bringing in as undersecretaries have been disruptors and innovators in the private sector who recognize that bureaucracy can be dysfunctional and needs to be disrupted. So it's taking outside-the-box unique approaches. I mean, virtual design is a big example. How many times are we going to build something physically that takes a year to build when you could use AI and computing power, design it virtually, identify the flaws, and move more quickly, or create open architecture so you can move.
Our committee stands ready to work with you.
I mean, there's 500 different things we can do, and we're doing them.
Yeah, and I'm sincerely concerned about this. Is it the policy of the Department of Defense that we need to be prepared to take Greenland and Panama by force if necessary? Is this a policy that you have within the Department of Defense in accordance with the President's wishes?
I heard what you said about those two countries and saying we need to worry about China. Well, we are worried about China.
That wasn't my concern.
China's malign influence in Panama.
I was
the recognition
concerned with
that if
us
China has
saying
control
that
of the
using
ports
military
or
force
malign
to take
influence
another
over the
sovereign
Panama,
country's
we
territory.
should pay attention to that.
Right.
So Panama is very key terrain that we've focused on, and we've been willing to focus
So we
on,
should
as
take it,
is Greenland
we should
key
take
terrain.
it by military force. They're important. I'm not going to argue with
The
that.
Arctic is
I'm
incredibly
arguing with
important,
the
and
using
adversaries are
our
trying to
military
gain-
to take it by force.
Our job at the DOD is to have plans. And
Do you have a plan for that?
Our job at the Defense Department is to have plans for any particular contingency.
Including the contingency of basically invading
Any
Denmark.
contingency you need, we've got it. We've got a building full of planners, and we're prepared to give recommendations whenever needed.
So just be clear, you have plans to take Panama and Greenland by force if necessary.
I think the American people would want the Pentagon to have plans for any particular contingency.
Not
and
for that
thankfully,
one, in
we
my
are in
opinion.
the planning business.
Speaking on behalf of the American people, I don't think the American people voted for President Trump because they were hoping we would invade Greenland. I'm going to go out on a limb on that one. I yield back.
This exchange takes place during a congressional committee hearing focused on defense spending and national security. But beneath the formal tone, it's really about priorities and honesty. A lawmaker is pressing a senior Pentagon official, not to score political points, but to expose contradictions between what the government says and what it actually does. The mood is serious, skeptical, and a little fed up, like someone finally reading the receipt after years of reckless shopping. The lawmaker begins by calling out the budget itself. Congress has just passed a plan that adds nearly $3 trillion to an already massive national debt. His argument is straightforward and rooted in old-school fiscal logic. If the government wants to spend more money on defense, the border, or anything else, it should be willing to pay for it. He admits this problem didn't start with one party or one administration. It's a generational failure, bipartisan and chronic, where everyone promises responsibility and no one brings a calculator. From there, the focus shifts to the border, and this is where the contradictions start flashing red. The Pentagon official had previously stated that border crossings are down by 99% and that the border is secure. Yet at the same time, the government is pulling $1 billion out of military construction, money meant for troop barracks, and redirecting it to the border. On top of that, thousands more troops are being sent there. The lawmaker challenges this directly. If the border is already secure, why are defense resources being drained to reinforce it? The official tries to thread the needle, saying the border is secure, but still requires manpower and continued fortification. That's when the lawmaker pauses the conversation and zooms in on the language itself. Secure and securing are not the same thing. Either the mission is complete or it isn't. Declaring success while continuing emergency-level spending creates confusion, not clarity. The lawmaker makes clear that he agrees the border matters, but warns against letting one political focus dominate the budget at the expense of other critical military needs. The conversation then turns to a deeper, more structural issue: why the Pentagon moves so slowly. The lawmaker asks how the Department of Defense plans to reform its culture, speed up acquisitions, and deal with defense contractors who inflate requirements and costs. The Pentagon official acknowledges a long-standing problem known as gold plating, where systems are over-designed in pursuit of near perfection. He admits that chasing a 99% solution often delays delivery so long that it becomes useless, arguing that an 85% solution delivered years earlier is often far more valuable. The official explains that contractors sometimes overpromise and underdeliver, not always out of bad intent, but often because the system rewards complexity over speed. To fix this, the Pentagon says it is bringing in disruptors, leaders with private sector experience who are comfortable challenging bureaucracy. New approaches like virtual design, AI-driven simulations, and open architecture systems are being emphasized to reduce delays and avoid costly mistakes before anything is physically built. It's one of the few moments in the hearing where both sides seem genuinely aligned. Then, the conversation takes a sharp and unexpected turn. The lawmaker asks whether it is official Pentagon policy to be prepared to take Greenland or Panama by force if necessary. The question isn't casual. It's rooted in concerns about China's influence and global strategic positioning. The Pentagon official responds cautiously, stating that the Department of Defense is responsible for planning for all contingencies. If something could happen, there is likely a plan for it. Pressed further, the official confirms that yes, plans exist for scenarios involving Panama and Greenland, just as plans exist for countless other global contingencies. That answer may be technically correct, but it triggers a final reality check from the lawmaker. Speaking for the public, he says he doesn't believe Americans voted for their president because they wanted to invade Greenland. The point isn't that planning is wrong. It's that planning should never drift so far from democratic intent that it becomes detached from common sense. The exchange ends with a clear message. America cannot afford to keep talking about fiscal responsibility while spending without discipline. It cannot declare missions accomplished while funding them like emergencies. And it cannot confuse military preparedness with political inevitability. This hearing isn't about weakening defense. It's about grounding power in restraint, strategy in honesty, and budgets in reality.